And here they are, your hosts, Dylan Weissman and Mike Langser.
Welcome back, Mastering Mitzvahs, episode 163, and I got a topic for you, Mike. This is something that's come up in a bunch of my recent conversations with mitzvah families for this season, and it has a lot to do with sound and volume, and I think it's really important that we talk about it.
I'm down. Let's go. I mean, it's busy season right now, and we're like in the thick of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually freezing. I don't know why I chose short sleeves today. So here's the thing. There's a spot in our planner that families fill out that talks about volume concerns, and I'm seeing a lot of we want to be able to talk at our tables. I see a lot of my kid has sensitive hearing issues, whatever it may be. But it has to do with the sound. And we as an entertainment company are often jockeying between volume providing energy to the celebration and then also providing comfortability to have those conversations.
You know, I shared with you once before, I'll remind you, several weeks ago, not more than 30 seconds in the party, Dad came running over to me at a party with a sound meter in his hand. There's an app on your iPhone that shows decibel levels.
Yeah. And
he comes running over and puts this thing in my face. I was like, whoa, what's happening? I was taken back.
Right.
And I wasn't literally even halfway into the first song of the night. And frankly, we weren't loud yet, but we were loud to the decibel concern of him. So let's dive into it.
So the first thing that I want to bring up is ask your venue about noise ordinances, especially if you have an indoor-outdoor venue. I was at an event last weekend where there was a noise ordinance on the edge of the property line where they had to hire a third-party person through the city to walk around with a dB meter and make sure that you're in compliance. So you got to know that that's a real question to ask.
And most of the time, we hear this all the time, venues don't mention it upon booking. So if you're booking a farm, a barn, something outdoors, summery party, ask that question. Are there sound limits in place?
Right.
Are there other events going on in the next room over that might have that concern? Because I could think of a time recently where there was a repast in another room and they asked us to lower our volume because it was disrespectful to the repast. And of course we want to honor them, but we're here to throw a party.
Right. And I mean, let's face it, volume is a relative feature of a party. We understand that there's a time and a place for loud versus less loud, but there is an amount of energy that comes with the territory of sound.
Let's also dispel something. There's loud and there's clarity issues. A lot of times when people say, oh my God, it's so loud at these parties, I can't hear myself think. It's actually the clarity is bad. Meaning they've gone to a venue that has, poor speakers installed or the DJ brought cheap speakers and what they're hearing is distortion. And distortion is actually what makes your ears bleed and ring. And when you leave a party with your ears ringing, it's generally because of distortion. It's not from overall volume. Good, clear sound. Do you ever leave a movie theater with your ears ringing? You don't. But movie theaters are generally pretty loud. Right. It's just tuned right. So a quality entertainment company with quality speakers knows this, and you get the energy that you're talking about out of the bass pumping, but you still don't feel that, stress in your ears from
it's a great point.
Quality sound.
It's a great point. So I think it's an important question to ask. Hey, what type of speakers do you bring? Have you been to my venue before? Speaking of venues, every venue has its own little quirk when it comes to sound, and we often figure that out day of because of the way that the room is set up. If they have carpet versus not carpet, how many guests are going to be there, how high are the ceilings, and that all plays a part in how it sounds.
You're talking about echo. Talking about echo, and sound is reverberating around the room. So when you're doing a walkthrough at a venue, and you walk into the room and there's no guests, if you clap your hands, do you hear that clap echo? That's probably going to happen the night of the party, just multiplied by that many more people, that many more claps, that much more volume. Now, in the sound world, they call us water bags. We absorb sound, but in a big echoey room, you got to put a lot of water bags in there to absorb enough that eliminates that echo.
Right. So, but it also comes down to our volume might come down, but if there's a significant echo that has that dissonance to it, it will feel louder than it is. And not only will it feel louder, but that echo becomes distorted and then the clarity becomes a problem. And then we're often fighting the echo by having to bring ourselves louder to go over the echo so that what's happening in the party is happening in real time as opposed to the echo canceling it out.
Yeah. So what are the workarounds? Is surround sound speakers, fill speakers on sides or back of the room that is still playing the same music. But, kind of like when you think about surround sound in your home, you're not playing the front two speakers so loud that everybody can hear them. It's just, it fills the room.
It's separated.
Yeah.
It's spread out and separated and gives a nice warm feeling to the message of the music or the narration of the microphone. So that will also prevent it from being really loud. So imagine you have a really big ballroom, a really long ballroom, and the majority of your guests are further away from the dance floor. We now have to play those speakers so much louder to get to the back of the ballroom, where if you ask the right questions and you have the right layouts and you can show the floor plan, a really high energy and high quality DJ company would recommend probably putting fill speakers or surround speakers in the back. That way you can have that connection to the music far away without overdriving the front speakers.
Yeah, and actually I'm going to say it's not so much for the music, but it's more for the speeches. The music can be loud and heard, and those that want to get away from it can be in the back of the room and further from the speakers. But it's the candle lighting, it's the speeches, it's the toasts that everybody needs to hear. And when you give the microphone to the 13-year-old who's inexperienced on a microphone, they're never, throwing their voice the way that a trained MC does.
Right.
They're timid. They're lightly talking into microphones. So when that happens, we have to raise the volume. When we raise the volume and they're standing by the speakers, that's when feedback can happen. So having fill speakers allows the back of the room to hear these speeches properly without raising the front of the room.
It will provide a level of comfort to that. But it also brings me to another interesting point. So often, the lower the volume messaging that we get, that piece of feedback comes from older guests. And I still don't understand it. But it's like families need to start considering where they put their guests in the room, not necessarily where they put them together, because obviously you want to put like friends with like friends and grandparents with whatever it may be, but don't put grandma next to the speakers,
right?
Because now you're going to fight that all night.
Right. You want to give those guests who are closest to you in relationship, almost physical proximity closest to you at the party. You want them to have the best view of the candle lighting and other things, but you also don't want to set yourself up for failure. And putting them one row back might save that literal headache of the volume being just thrown at them. Know who your dancing group is. The people that are going to be dancing all night are not going to be in their seats. So, it almost doesn't really matter where they are. Keep that in mind as you're figuring out, but you also know who's going to camp out in their tables. And those are the ones you probably want to keep furthest from the speakers, because during loudest points, they're going to still sit in their seats. That's just that group of people.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that I wish more families did, which is take consideration of where they place their people in relation to the speakers. Because that is a part of it that we fight all the time, is the difference between those who are going to stay at their tables all the time and aren't going to be dancing, doesn't matter what the volume is.
Right.
You end up fighting them on it all night long.
Right.
A lot of families bring up, we want to be able to have conversations at our tables. If that's the case, make sure that those conversation tables are further away from the speakers, because unlike a wedding, you have kids involved in this thing. And for us to be able to maintain control and interact with these kids, we're going to need a level of volume that matters, especially during dinner service, because otherwise they're going to be running around the place.
I don't want to go too far off path here, Dylan, but this all really boils down to finding the right venue. When you're shopping, there's a lot of things you have to consider. Obviously, price, minimum guest count, proximity to your home, but then think about space. What is it going to sound like, what we're talking about in that space? But next, do we have enough space? I just did a party very recently that we were literally shoehorned into this facility. And it's not that the room couldn't handle us. And when the client said to the venue, I have 125 guests, the venue said, yeah, we could do 150, 160, no problem. True. What conversation I suspect didn't happen is we have 125 guests, but we also have a perfume station, a photo booth. My outside caterer is bringing in multiple buffet stations. We're going to have a craft station. When you add all of these things that take up 10 foot by 10 foot footprints of room, that's roughly what a round table would take up. So every station eliminates another group of 10 to 12 seats. So thinking about that and shopping for the right venue, I think, is really, really important. Once you pick the venue, you got to hold true to what the venue's capacity truly is. We always say we love a packed dance floor. It feels more energetic, but we don't love a packed room. It's very different. Packed dance floor is inviting and exciting, and the energy is there. But a packed room is not comfortable for many reasons.
Yeah. So when considering sound, there's a lot. I would also mention ceiling height. The taller the ceilings, obviously you're gonna have a really beautiful ballroom footprint in that case, but by adding height to the ceiling, you're going to have a little bit more of that echo and dissonance that we were talking about earlier that will end up factoring into the volume of your party.
Two topics with that to add. Number one, domes and glass. So there's some beautiful venues in our area that have these very ornate dome ceilings. That is like a chamber for echo. And when you stand underneath that dome and you say something, you hear yourself 10 more times. But it echoes just underneath that dome. It's a very wild effect. And glass, venues that have a lot of glass, it's so pretty having glass windows overlooking rivers, oceans, this or that. But glass is the best surface for just sound to reverb off of. Glass or marble, slate, museums are known for these types of, tricky situations.
So basically, to avoid the echo, you're looking for soft.
Yes.
Like carpet or even just like cushioned seats.
Yep.
Another thing to consider, we were talking about the seating arrangement. If you put your dancers on the inside of, like, close to the dance floor, they're more likely to then fill the dance floor, and you will have those water bags, as you referred to earlier, taking up that sound hit, and then you won't have as much echo or, dissonance to the volume.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to consider because you really don't. You don't think about how that plays into it.
And let's also put this out there. This is probably one of the very first things we should have said. So maybe in our edit, we'll actually snap this in the very beginning. But we don't want to be loud. Our goal is not to be so loud that people are sitting there with their fingers in their ears. That's not the goal of the DJ. The goal of the DJ is to throw a party. And you got to feel the energy. You don't go to a concert and it's low. There's a reason why there's such energy in a concert. And we used movie theaters before, and like the volume in a movie theater. It also stops the distractions. When it's almost like forced tunnel vision. But folks, let's face it, you're throwing a party. You're setting yourself up for success when you throw a party and you understand there's going to be some volume. Now, let's address one thing. You said before, sensory issues. It's becoming more and more prevalent. I feel like at least once or twice a month, if not more than that. Now we're hearing from families who have special needs and sensory issues with their kids. Don't throw that as a surprise to us. Let us know that in advance.
Yeah.
When we know in advance, we could come up with workarounds.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Be honest with your entertainment company. Hey, my son is sensitive to sound. What can we do? And we'll give you a laundry list of ways to help out. We want them to be comfortable in their own space, right? Additionally, I think it's important to understand that this topic of podcast doesn't mean that you shouldn't go up to your entertainment company and tell them to lower the volume if it means something.
Right.
In the moment, we can make magic happen by either turning it down. What we can't do is people leave and say, oh my God, it was so loud, but they didn't say anything. So right. I would still say, come on up and let them know about your own comfort, because everyone has their own threshold of what they believe is loud. What you believe is loud, what I believe is loud, and what my grandmother believes is loud are three different louds.
And my last thing I want to mention is it's very okay to ramp up the volume. I think sensory issues are like when you walk into a room and bam, you're slammed with loud volume. Like that's intense, and that's a shock to the system. But when the volume works its way up through the night, your ears actually it's called fatigued. Your ears get fatigued through the night, and you need more volume to have the same effect, the same impact. So it's okay. And again, if you told us your son or daughter has sensory issues, great. When we open the doors, it's going to feel like a party, but it's not going to be a rager yet. we'll work our way up to that, and we'll judge it. We'll gauge it as it's going.
Yep. I just think it's an important topic to talk about, and it comes up a lot recently. So I'm glad that we were able to lay it down here on the podcast. So if you have a topic that you want at least our opinion on, send to us at XE Events or masteringmitzvahs.com at XEevents.com. And we got a couple more coming. I mean, it's a busy time of year, the fall, but it's a good time of year, and we're excited to be doing it. So that's Mike. I'm Dylan. This has been Mastering Mitzvahs, episode 163. We'll check you guys soon.